The New York media was instrumental to the growth of sports. The relationship between the two industries was just as symbiotic then as it is now, although the media today, including television, radio, and the internet, is arguably, as a whole, less independent than it was over 100 years ago. The nation's first news publication to prioritize sports and recreation was the Manhattan-based The Spirit of the Times. Started in 1831 with horse racing as its main focus, The Spirit of the Times also covered activities from foot races to fox hunting. Its founding is a milestone of the moment that sports in America had gained enough popularity to be seen as an integral part of the general culture. Its founder, William T. Porter, was confident that a sporting newspaper based in New York could find an audience. He was right. By the 1850s, the Spirit of the Times circulation was 100,000, at a time the population of the entire nation was not even 30 million. Around the time baseball was forming in New York, newspapers' popularity was rising in the city as a result of the introduction of the rotary press in 1845. The invention allowed for the inexpensive printing of newspapers known as the penny press. Those from all economic classes could now afford to buy newspapers. Sports writers were the primary conduits between sports owners, managers, and players on the one hand, and the public on the other. And because publishers and sports writers held that power, they were respected and feared. In 1890, when New York City still meant Manhattan, there were 55 daily newspapers in the city. At a time when the press meant basically newspapers, publishers confirmed time and again that sports coverage sold newspapers. In fact, college football led directly to the creation of separate Sunday sports sections, a development that expanded to other areas of interest, such as arts and entertainment. Publisher William Randolph Hearst's evening newspaper, the New York Journal, went a step further, developing the first regular sports section and hiring writers who were experts in certain sports. In 1895, Hearst devoted the entire front page of the Journal to the Yale-Princeton football game at the Polo Grounds, including a huge illustration. The edition sold out.
Perhaps revolutionary.
In 1923, 17% of the newsprint in the city's more than a dozen daily newspapers was devoted to sports, up from 4% in 1890. One of Hearst's Journal sports writers was Thomas A. Dorgan, known by his acronym TAD. Dorgan practically created his own dialect, inventing expressions still popular today. For example, there is "for crying out loud" and "dumbbell" as an insult. After joining the Journal, Dorgan introduced many of the terms in two syndicated comic strips he drew, one titled Indoor Sports and the other Outdoor Sports. In 1903, a year after Hearst had personally hired Dorgan, the publisher bought a home at 123 Lexington Avenue and lived there for about 7 years. Hearst was famously and very loosely depicted as Charles Foster Kane in the acclaimed 1941 film Citizen Kane.